Hi, my name is Adriana, and I will be talking about how place memory relates to Anzaldua's text, and I'll talk about how her memory can relate to her homeland and like the borders between U.S. and Mexico. So places are built together through monuments, statues, neighborhoods, or cultured areas. When working with place, you are creating a memorabilia, and in that process, that place then becomes a part of your life and your history. So Anzaldua, though she knew of her cultured values, the risk she took in leaving home and becoming the woman she wanted to be later on, Anzaldua, she still remembers where she's from and who she is as a person within her in her culture as an individual. And what I got from her is, unfortunately for Anzaldua, her family, as she has a place of memory when her own family was unable to bury Mama Locha beside her husband, just because of the cemetery was chained and padlocked by ranch owners of the surrounding land. Now, with her having this memory of the cemetery and having it being blocked and chained, preventing her and her family to just bury Mama Locha, gave that place a form of special memory, a special remembrance, due to how significant it was to her and her family. And thus, even though she's not with her family anymore, away from the homeland, it still has a definite significance on her life. So place memory is also constructed by language. Each culture has their unique form of language. As for Anzaldua, she often, throughout the text, referred to an individual to her family speak in Spanish. As she goes on with the story of her homeland, she has flashbacks of her aunt speaking in her language back home. And another quote from her I got from the text are, "In the fields, la migra, my aunt saying, 'No, Coran, don't run, they'll think you're del otro lado.'" With this, still going back to how place memory relates to language, Anzaldua remembers that where she grew up helped her form that understanding of her culture's language and traditional values, and what the language meant as well, and where she learned it from, basically. Just like with me, when I grew up, I remember in certain places in San Jose, certain places like Santa Clara and Milpitas were heavily populated with people of my culture, the Filipinos. So it would remind me a lot about going to the Philippines, my homeland, and where everyone spoke in Tagalog. And when I went to those certain places like Seafood City and Goldilocks, I would see everyone there, and everyone knows everyone, and they would talk in Tagalog, and I would feel like it's like a place, language, and a memory because it reminds me of my homeland. So lastly, place memory can have an effect on photography. I used, for example, in Cresswell's book, he refers to one of Casey's points that the past come to life in the present and thus contribute to the production and reproduction of social memory. And in relation to Anzaldua, I used a quote from her text saying, "I have a vivid memory of an old photograph. I am 6 years old and I stand between my father and my mother, head cocked to the right, toes of my flat feet gripping the ground as I hold my mother's hand on page 38. So in relation to her photographic memory and Casey, it's true when he talks about how your photographic memory reminds you throughout your life, and how the past does become the present, and the present can become the future just because of that picture that you could remember from. Like for me, I remember when I was a younger girl, I had a picture with my grandfather and my grandmother in the Philippines, and I was sitting next to them, and I just remember that as a memory. So that was the past, and now is the present, and I still think of it, then on here today, yeah, as well. So it's a memory of, relating to that place in the Philippines where I took that picture, and where my culture is and my identity as well, and who I am. Thank you.